Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World, and this is an interesting one. Two really interesting episodes today, actually. And this one is all about the left back position under Brian Barry Murphy. One position, three players. A brand new manager with a possession-based, fluid philosophy that relies on structure but intelligence, bravery on the ball. And today on the channel, we tackle the biggest question, or one of the biggest questions, facing Brian Barry Murphy as he heads into the new season and the new era, and that is who should start at left back for Cardiff City. So let's look at the options. You've got Louis Giles, the fearless teenage technician. You've got Joel Bagan, who's a bit of a warrior who can invert but also overlap. You've got Callum, the seasoned pro with leadership in spades and a converted winger. In this video, we're going to break it all down. We're going to look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the stats, how they fit into Brian Barry Murphy's style, whether we should rotate based on our position, if Callum O'Dowda was going to leave, do we need to replace him, and a whole lot more. Let's go. So, why is left back so crucial in Brian Barry Murphy's system? So before we dive into the individuals, I want to get one thing clear. Under Brian Barry Murphy, the left back position, or the full back position, but for this we'll talk left back, isn't just about defending. At Manchester City, at Rochdale, the fullbacks were either inverted to create overloads in the midfield, or they pushed high and wide to create the overlap and stretch the pitch. Brian Barry Murphy is shaped by that Manchester City DNA, of course he is. Will he expect his left back to be more of a stopper who inverts, or will he be looking for that overlap? Let's talk about it. So, we're looking for intelligence, we're looking for bravery, we're looking for positional awareness. Not just someone who can clear it into row Z. Have it. Let's assess the three contenders. So up first is the youngster. One of the best technical footballers in that under 21s that we have. Louis Giles, 18, maybe 19 now actually. Confident, cultured, composed. Made his senior debut in the League Cup. Featured 3 times in the first team, whilst also having a solid starring campaign in the under-21s. In terms of the stats, 24-25 season, he, as I say, made those 3 appearances, 2 in the League Cup, 1 in the FA Cup. He played about 109 minutes in total for the first team, with a pass completion rate of 81.7, crosses per 90, 3.2, key passes, 1.8, tackles and interceptions per 90, 2.9, aerial duels won, 38.5. In the under-21s, he made 13 appearances because he was with the first team a lot, playing over 1,000 minutes, got 1 assist, 4.6 progressive carries per 90 minutes, and again, 7.8 final third entries per 90. So actually, you can see in the 21s, he's very aggressive, very good at getting forward. And technically, he's got a lot, right? He overlaps with great timing. His delivery from crosses is exceptional. Like, it's so good, it's so accurate. He's brave in possession. He's press resistant. He doesn't hide. He'll show for the ball. But there's, of course, a physical trade-off. He's 18, 19. He's still developing. He's not quite ready to dominate one-on-one with the physicality, and especially when you come up against those big physical experienced wingers, that's going to be difficult for him. Of course, we know this. But look, here's why I think Brian Barry Murphy will love him. Technically, he's an excellent footballer. Technically, very secure, composed under pressure. He can act as a high, wide outlet, and I'm sure he could invert if shown and coached how to. But for the overlapping side of things, he is the guy in terms of what we can do. His crossing ability could be vital for Yusuf Salic. He is a long-term project, of course, and with the right minutes, he can become a massive player for Cardiff City. He's got every single attribute that you want from a fullback. Next up is Joel Bagan. And Joel's a really interesting one. When he first came into the team, was very much the overlapper. But now you see him invert a lot more, and he'll tuck into the midfield, and he's really aggressive. He's quite a quiet lad, like off the pitch, but I think he's quietly really kicked on in the last, since he came back from his loan. I think he's really kicked on. I thought he had an excellent season last year, and he's now the longest serving player at the football club, would you believe? And look, importantly, he is someone who's gone out, gone on loan, come back ready. He had a loan in 2020 at Notts County, where he just made a couple of appearances with 3.8 tackles per 90 minutes, 55% on the aerial duels. In terms of, then he went to Zulte Wagram in Belgium, where he made, this was 2023-24 season, he made 21 league appearances, 3 cup appearances, playing over 1,800 minutes. Per 90 minutes, he made 4.1 tackles over that season. He had an 85% pass completion. He won 61% of his aerial duels and made 1.2 key passes per 90. That's some pretty good stats for a left back. In 24-25 season, he of course was back at Cardiff. Made 36 appearances, a lot of them off the bench, but he still made a lot of appearances. Over 2,000 minutes. In terms of the tackles and interceptions per 90, 4.3. Had an 84% pass completion, 2.1 crosses per game, and 64% of his aerial duels. So I think you can see that Bagan has grown tactically and mentally. He's very happy to invert and push into midfield and create those overloads in the midfield triangles. He's aggressive, he's solid in the duels, and he reads the game well. And I think you can see the difference in the aerial duels with him. He's got that little bit of physicality. And look, when you've got a player who's aggressive, occasionally they can be a bit rash. They can get sucked in and caught out of position, or they can go too early and pick up bookings or even red cards. How does he fit with Brian Barry Murphy? Well, Brian Barry Murphy wants to create overloads, but he also wants defenders who can step up into midfield, whether that be an overlap or by inverting. Bagan can do that. In many ways, he's very tactically aligned with Brian Barry Murphy's style right now. He is very good on the ball. He's a good passer, but he's also aggressive and defensively sound. And then we've got Callum O'Dowda, the leader who wants to be a left back. And look, that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but he does want to be a left back. And look, Callum O'Dowda, he's an experienced head, but he's also a real good technical footballer. I said the other day, I think he could play on the left of a 3 in a midfield. Like, I think he's that good technically. He's a player who said he wants to play left back, fine. He captained the side a lot last year. And look, he was there all season last year. His stats for 24-25, 43 appearances, just under 4,000 minutes, scored 2 goals, 3 assists, made 1.24 key passes per 90, had an expected assist of 0.13, averaged 3.47 crosses per 90 minutes, but only had a 25% accuracy rate for those crosses. Had a pass completion of 73.3, tackles and interceptions 2.4 per 90, got dribbled past 2.7 times, and only won 48% of his aerial duels. So look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Statistically, Joel Bagan had a better season, but it's not just about that. It's about what they bring and the eye test, of course. But look, Callum O'Dowda is still a winger. Going forward, he's dangerous. He can overlap. He can cross. Defensively, there are issues. There's gaps in his game. He can get caught on the ball. He hasn't got the recovery pace as much as he would have when he was a bit younger. And against teams that counter quickly, he can be caught out and be a bit of a liability. And look, in terms of how he fits with Brian Barry Murphy, this is probably quite a tough call, I think. Because Brian Barry Murphy will absolutely love his attitude. He will love his professionalism. his leadership. But I'm just not sure if he's defensively aware enough for the style that we're looking for. Because we like a fluid style. We're going to play, a lot of one-touch, two-touch football. That's fine. I think he's okay with that. I think he's technically very good. I'm just not sure if he's got the defensive spatial awareness to do it. But I guess we'll see. But still, if you need experience, a steady head, some calm, Callum's more than fine for the role. Let's talk a little bit about rotating by opposition. Could that be the BBM blueprint? So here's the clever part, right? What if we didn't pick one guy who's going to be the first choice left back? What if Barry Murphy, a coach influenced by systems and flexibility, fluidity, what if he decides to rotate his left backs based on the opposition? For example, if you have a pressing team who are going to come and be really aggressive in the press, maybe you want Bagan to invert into the midfield and create some overloads and help that midfield. If you've got a low block, a team that's going to sit in and frustrate you, maybe you want Giles or in there to stretch the wide and get those overlaps and try and put some good crosses in the box, create the overloads in a wide area. And then maybe versus the top level sides or the sides who are really going to trouble you, you want someone with a bit more experience and composure. Barry Murphy doesn't commit to one style 100% of the time. He plays different systems and he does different tactics. He needs options. And that's what these three left backs give. Now there is a bit of a problem with that. What if Callum O'Dowda leaves? So this is the big question. What if Callum O'Dowda leaves Cardiff City in this summer? He's just signed a new contract, but he's going to have a lot of interest from Championship clubs. And while he's valued, if another club comes in, or if Barry Murphy decides he wants to focus on the two younger lads, we could end up signing Callum O'Dowda. Now, if we do we need a new left back? Yes. But, there's always a but. I think we only need a new left back if we don't fully trust Louis Giles yet. Because if O'Dowda goes, you can argue that we need an experienced left back who's tactically intelligent, is comfortable where there's overlapping, inverting, but can also help mentor Giles whilst competing with Bagan. But if they're happy with Giles to be the understudy to Bagan, could you go with those two and then you've got Ollie Tanner in an emergency or whoever else in emergency, Pacquiao or someone like that? I'm just asking the question. Let me know what you think. We cannot leave Giles and Bagan to carry the full load if Callum goes, but I'm also not sure on that. So the other day I said if Perry and G goes, I don't think it's fair to go with Pacquiao and Spears because there's two very inexperienced. But I think it's slightly different. Giles has played a little bit of first team football and Bagan's played a lot of first team football. So you're not going with two kids, you're going with a young but experienced left back and then the academy sort of graduate, if you like. Whereas on the other side, without NG, it was like Pacquiao, who's played very little first team football whatsoever, and then Spears, who's not played any. So, yeah, it is difficult. I think I could understand the argument that Barry Murphy would need a third, more experienced option. But I can also see a world where Barry Murphy asks Louis Giles to step up and step up quickly. Let's round it off, right? You've got three players, you've got three profiles. You've got a manager who's tactical, who's going to demand different things depending on the match. You've got Giles, who's the future left back. You've got Barry Murphy will love the technical ability and the bravery, the delivery of his crosses. But of course he's going to need managing, whether that's game time, expectations, pressure, when he has bad games, etc. And of course, then there's the physical element. I think Bagan, to me, is the most aligned with Brian Barry Murphy's philosophy all around right now. I think he can invert into midfield really well. He can overlap when needed, but defensively he's very solid. He's physical and he's good. I don't think he'll have any issues with the physical side of League One. And then you've got O'Dowda. He's a steady hand. Like, he's experienced. He's a leader. He can deliver good crosses, but I would argue that his set pieces and crossing were very poor last year. But the defensive side of his game has got a lot of holes in, and I think whilst it should be alright in League One, really, defensively, if I'm an opposition team, I would target Callum O'Dowda at left back. I just would, because he's not a defender, he's a winger. If O'Dowda stays, we've got depth in that position. If he goes, I'm torn on whether we replace him. Across the season, I'd love to see Brian Barry Murphy rotate all three. This is Cardiff City World. I've been Si. I want to know what you think. Who would your left back be for the first league game of the season? If Callum O'Dowda leaves, would you trust Bagan and Giles to be the left backs for the season? Do you think we need to bring someone experienced in if Callum O'Dowda goes? Let me know in the comments. As always, give me the context. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you can become a member, become a member. If you haven't and you want one of the limited edition Cardiff City World football shirts, which are based on a Cardiff City retro kit, if you go, you just email Cardiff City World with your size and they will send you payment details. Or if you want to have a look at it and stuff like that, it's on my socials and it's also on the Cardiff City World YouTube page on the posts bit tab. But yeah, you need to get that done because that order is going off Thursday morning. So Wednesday night will probably be the cut-off for orders. So if you want it, get it. And later tonight we've got the next episode of the rebuild, which is looking at how we can build upon Brian Barry Murphy's appointment, what sort of positions that we should look at, from fitness coaches and set piece coaches right up to director of footballs, looking at the whole thing. And that was a lot of fun. So as I said at the start of the video, 2 real interesting videos today, and I'll see you in a bit. Keep the faith, my friends.